I love you. You can FaceTime me because I love you, but I'm just saying it's not necessary.
You gotta give me a heads up too.
It's not necessary.
Like I could be in like the middle of something. You can't just FaceTime me and expect me to pick up.
I agree. I'm gonna think something's wrong.
I'm gonna think, not only am I gonna think something's wrong, I'm gonna think, why? Why?
I don't got it all planned out, but you know, I just watch it all pan out, cause I know that you know, covered in this life until forever.
Let's introduce this one to the podcast. Everyone, welcome Codie Elaine Oliver. Welcome to the Cool Mom Code podcast.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi,
welcome.
Lizzy.
This is wild. You
so
are finally on the podcast.
I'm so happy.
I mean, listen, we've had Ashley on the podcast.
Yeah.
We called you, there was a phone call made. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
Codie and I have a special relationship. I will say, Codie and I have we go back and forth quite a bit. We're friends. No, we are. Don't you feel like
we're friends? Where do we go back?
We jab.
Go forth?
We jab back and forth. But that's our love language to each other. We jab back and forth and we're like, you ain't shit, you ain't shit, you ain't shit. But we think the utmost of each other.
We do. No, we totally
I really
do.
I have nothing but ultimate respect for you. And I think that you honestly are very inspiring and you are a super boss. And so I love that about you. And I think that, what you've accomplished is wild. And that's what we're going to dive into today. That's why you're here ultimately. But if we do jabs along the way, please know it is all love.
There are no real jabs.
It is all love. That's our relationship. And I feel like it's very, we've been like that since jump though.
Really?
Yes. I feel like that's how we've been
Do you
since
know how we
first
met? Do you remember?
No. Do you?
Yeah. Shout out to Ryan Tarpley.
Oh my God, that's right.
Was he like your manager or your agent at the time?
He was, we were working together. And he did introduce me to you, didn't he?
He did.
I came into your office.
Yes.
Was that our first meeting?
Yes. Like literally Ryan, who used to work at CAA and I interned there 100 years ago, reached out and was like, I have this client and I think you guys should know each other. And I don't remember if it was just because we were both like Black moms or because of Black Love, the show or what. But he was like, you guys should know each other.
That's so wild.
Shout out to Ryan.
Shout out. And then come to find out we had so many mutual crossovers.
Yeah.
And come to find out that my first kind of, I don't know if it wasn't a podcast, but it was like one of like the first times that I interviewed and did that whole thing was on.
Yes. Okay. Wait.
Black Love.
You're totally right. Okay. So obviously he introduced us to like do work and stuff together. Mm-hmm. And what we did, we had lots of ideas, but we did a show called Moms with Coffee.
That's right.
Which I know you talked about the Mamas In podcast with Ashley, but it's how I met Felicia.
That's wild.
She did the makeup for Moms with Coffee.
She sure did.
Okay, Moms with Coffee on Black Love YouTube page.
Yes.
You can still see Lizzy Mathis right there.
That's
okay.
Right. That was like the first like kind of interview thing that we had done, especially around moms.
Yeah. And I was pregnant with the twins when we filmed it.
Okay. So let's just go back a little bit.
Y'all.
So Codie's a mom of 3.
Yeah.
Married to her best friend and business partner. There's a lot there to unpack. That sounds so simple in 2 sentences, but that's a lot to unpack. Mm-hmm. You are a big advocate for HBCUs.
Yeah.
Which, in hindsight, I tell this to everybody who comes on who went to HBCU.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
I believe I would have thrived.
I'm for sure. I love Detroit Lizzy.
Thrived.
Detroit Lizzy would have had a field day at Howard University.
I would have thrived at Howard. If I had to go back and do it all over again, I would go to Howard.
You literally went to the same high school as one of my best friends and my roommate in college.
Yes, exactly. I would have taken their path.
Yeah.
We
would have all just been together.
I mean, this would have been just one happy union.
We could have like 15 more years together.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Is that something that you think that you would advocate for your children?
100%.
Yeah.
Tommy would not.
Why? This is interesting. Tommy is Codie's husband.
Oh,
why?
Lord. I mean, his answer is probably more kind than meaning I'm annoyed by it. So I'm going to answer from a place of that. But I mean, his feeling is that overall, there are, top tier schools like a Harvard and like a Stanford. There are these schools that are top of the line in terms of the education they provide and the opportunities that come with those sorts of schools on your resume. And, we all know what those are, right? And so his feeling is like, I'm going to want them to strive for the best institutions, period. For me, I get that. There's nothing wrong with like a good school, right? But I think that HBCUs were created and still exist for Black children to thrive and are specifically tailored to them. And so there are a lot of wonderful HBCUs that provide a great education that may not be the same. It may not be the same. What is the word? Not rating. We'll just use rating, but like as a Harvard. Right. But it provides an emotional and social growth potential that these other schools can, that these private white institutions cannot.
This is interesting you say that, because I think that growing up, I had the same kind of idea as Tommy. That I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to the best institution that I get into. That's going to be where I go. That's what I'm striving for. That's why I'm like working so hard in high school and getting 4.0. Well, all these things, right? That's why I'm doing all these other activities. Yeah. I want to go to the best institution I can go to. Even though my brothers had gone to HBCUs.
Oh, I did not know that.
But for me, I didn't see the value in it.
Ooh.
I don't know. Like, I didn't see it the same way. Yeah. Like when I was younger, did not see it the same way. I just saw, okay, well, they're going to HBCUs, cool for them. I'm going to go to the best institution I get into. That happened to be Northwestern.
That's fair.
Great, right? I think being in that situation, which is awesome. I feel like I met a lot of great people. Like, it was a great experience. I loved Chicago. It was awesome, whatever. In hindsight now, as like a woman, I feel like there's so much that I lost in those formative years that I feel like an HBCU would have provided.
So for me, my whole family went to Howard, except for my older sister who went to Hampton. I say that to say I knew I had options. Right. Because it wasn't like everyone was pushing Howard. My whole family went to Howard University. And growing up, my sister and I both went to predominantly white elementary and high school. And for me, I just was at a place where I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So it was a direct result of the choices that were made for me growing up. And I think that what I knew for sure was that when I was around Black people growing up, it was my family, eventually Jack and Jill, sometimes like summer camps. We went to sleepaway camp, which is a whole nother conversation now that we have, kids of our own. And I just knew that I wanted to be in an environment where I wasn't the only. Right. I knew that. And so I said to myself, if I'm going to go to an HBCU, I want to go to the best HBCU, which to me, based on, all the ratings and whatever, I don't know what word I'm trying to find here, but
yeah, I understand.
Based on everything
based
I was
on the rankings.
Ranking. Thank you. Howard University most certainly was that, especially in 2001 when I went to college, but also my whole family went there. I spent a lot of time in DC. I knew I wanted that experience. And so that was why I made that decision. And because my kids are growing up in a similar circumstance, going to private schools. And I am fighting every single year for the classes that they're in, the homerooms that they're in, for them not to be the only. I don't want them to have that experience in college if that's not what they want. If they say, hey, I want to go to Stanford because I want to go to Stanford, fine. I'm going to make sure that they're aware of HBCUs. They understand the value that they can bring. If that's not their choice, that's not their choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I really do. I think that's an interesting one, especially how we decide to shape the next generation and our kids and like what the experience we had. See, for me, I didn't go to all predominantly white schools. I was from, I'm from Detroit. So we had plenty of everything, you know what I mean, to choose from. Yeah. There was not that. Yeah. I feel like I was very comfortable around every sector of people and blah, blah, blah. And I never felt like the only. So coming into Northwestern, I was like, oh, so there's 10 of us? That's it. This is the group. This is what we're working with. So it's for me. But now I think the reason why it's always so top of mind for me is because it is different for my children. Yeah. They are going to schools that are predominantly white. And I do fear that they don't see themselves. Yeah. And so it makes me just worried about their identity and how they will now, self-identify going forward and all that. I don't know. And it's top of mind.
Add to it, and we don't have to go too deep, but like there's just so much there's so much information being banned in our kids' schools, elementary and high school, that I want my kids to go somewhere where they're not just seeing other people who look like them. They're learning their own history.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
but where is that? That's at home now.
it's at home.
I mean, that's
and
at home.
HBCUs. Okay.
Yes. Yes. That not till college, but in the
Yes.
lower elementary, middle, high school,
Yeah,
that's at home.
it is.
You know, that's I think any minority especially has to do that at home.
Yep.
Because it won't be taught in the schools. That's just facts.
And that's awful.
And that's awful. But do you think that also depends on where you live? Do you think other cities are different?
No, not really. I wouldn't say that I've done a ton of research on the subject. Obviously, I live here in LA, and so I focus here. But everything that I read and see talks about book banning all over the country. You know, I'm from Texas, which is not a place that's historically sharing
information,
the contributions of Black Americans in this country in a favorable light. And so I do think it's certainly pockets all over the country.
Right. Right.
And all of us, all minorities in this country do bear the burden of teaching their families, their children, their history, and making sure that kids grow up knowing who they are, proud of who they are, and able to stand up to those who may feel differently, who may have learned differently.
Right.
It's exhausting.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, that in itself, I think, is even a challenge. One thing I do love that you have done is you've created this ethos of, being Black, being proud, loving who you are, loving the skin that you walk in, and loving your brown skin and all of its glory and history and, you know, every strength and everything. And you created a business around it. You've literally taken that sentiment, that value, that, you know, foundation, and you've created an entire business/empire around it, i.e. Black love. So
Word.
I think it's fascinating that you and Tommy meet and 1 month later you're in business.
Yes. Oh, you know the math.
What is
we
this?
met September 9th, 2013. Around early October, we talked about Black love, which was an idea that I had for many years in terms of telling like love stories, right? Long story short, there was this media portrayal of a Black marriage crisis in our country. And in addition to the fact that my parents were divorced, so it was really important to me to sort of study marriage and figure out like, what does it take to make a marriage work after my parents got divorced after 16 years? And so I knew I wanted to create a place where Black love stories live, but I didn't know if that was a coffee table book or a documentary. I kind of knew it was a documentary in my mind, but back then, 2013, and even when I had the idea in like 07, 08, documentaries weren't cool.
Right.
So I was like, nah, that's not it.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to meeting him, you know, director, producer, writer, and bringing the idea up, and he was like, let's do it. Because that's what producers do. They're like, we're going to figure it out.
Yes.
And so by October, we had devised a plan to start working on that.
And had you guys started dating yet?
I mean, technically. We met September 9th, 2013. And we probably started dating about a week later because we met in Toronto at the Toronto Film Festival.
Yeah.
We had our first date in LA a week later. And we spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday together. And so I guess we were dating.
So it's like you meet a new boo. You like, okay, so you not only are you my new boo.
I did not want to work
but
together.
then let's start this whole thing together.
I brought it up seeking his professional feedback.
Yes.
And he was like, let's do it. And I'm like, I mean, I guess. Okay.
So that's the moment you start.
Yeah.
You're basically building a relationship and a business simultaneously with a new partner. So not only a new business partner, but also a new romantic partner.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It doesn't. I'm just kidding.
How
I mean,
does
it was
that
hard is what
work?
I'm saying. So we met and got engaged in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So like 5 months after that conversation.
In 6 months.
We were engaged. And a few months after that, I quit my job. So basically, you know, he was a writer, director, producer. And so I was like reading his scripts after work because I had a full-time job at that point. I was giving him notes. He was about to produce a film in Detroit. Actually, we made a movie in Detroit a year after we met. And so all of those things were happening at the same time. And he's like, okay, quit your job, you know, like do this full time. He's I'm more risk averse than he is. And he had been an entrepreneur, filmmaker for, I don't know, 5 years or so at that point. And so.
And just to give a little backstory on Tommy is all chips in. Tommy is not like one of the people in life who teeter on the sideline. They're not. He's not the one that's like, oh, should I? Let me just dip my toe in. Let me just do this. Oh,
Nope.
You know, I'm gonna try this out. No, he's like, no, I believe in this. It's all in. Let's go. 100% full throttle. Done.
Yes.
And he has no regrets. He's not that type of dude.
No.
Like he is. This is what I believe, and I'm there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
And that
I just had to
energy,
give a little backstory.
that energy is strong. So we were essentially working together. We were working together immediately with me reading his scripts and giving him notes and stuff like that. We were working together formally 1 year after we met. We were literally filming Black Love and this film called Destined, which we shot in Detroit. And I had quit my job at that point. And then we got married. So we started filming all of that in like September 2014. We got married February 2015. So within less than a year and a half of knowing each other, we were married and working together. And then, not you laughing.
It's wild to me.
Me too.
It's so wild. It's like, you know, it just feels like, I mean, Destined was the movie, but it just feels like destiny. It really does. It just feels like this is what was meant to happen at this point, and there was no stopping it. It
No
was like
stopping.
a train at full speed.
Yes, full speed. Then we were pregnant.
Yes.
So a year and a little, like less than 2 years after we met, we were working together, married and pregnant.
Within 2 years.
Yeah, less than
of
2
saying
years.
hello.
Yes, of saying hello.
Wow.
Who are you?
Yes.
But I do say all of that to say it was a lot. It wasn't a lot at that time. It felt like, you know, passion and
Excitement.
purpose and ambition and all mixed into one. But looking up, so we're doing all of these things. I have Brooks, my oldest, October 2016, which is the same month that we went from a documentary to a docuseries. We decided to pitch the show as a docuseries after shooting most of it. We licensed it to OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, October 2016, the same time that I'm having my first child.
Right.
And it was just a lot at once. And we had to deliver that show, which we'd already shot, by January. So I had a new baby in October, and we had to finish 4 episodes of this show January of the next year. And it just continued that way. It was like, oh, season 1, season 2, season 3. It's all beautiful. Sure. Then we launched, I'll give you the whole thing because it's like aggressive. Then we launched blacklove.com in 2018. We have, I say 2018, think about all the prep that goes up to these things, right? First baby 2016. By 2018, we launched blacklove.com. We have the first Black Love Summit. We've already done Black Love tours with our couples city to city. And we're in season 2 of Black Love. We're airing season 2 of Black Love at that time, which means we're basically filming and editing season 3.
And no longer is this a 2-man crew or
Nope,
2-person
actually
crew, I should
it is.
say. At this point, it's a 2-person
We are
crew.
still shooting every single episode, just the 2 of us.
Oh, I remember. These 2 showed up at my house, and I was like,
Where's the rest?
Is there someone coming behind you? Or
That part.
Literally,
part.
It was just Codie and Tommy, and literally just in the house.
And a camera, or
And a
maybe
camera.
2.
Yeah.
At some point, we went down to just 1, but 2 cameras.
Right.
And so we're doing all of this. We're having these babies. We're running that business and sort of slow launching
but
another.
Break it down though, because you're giving me this as a big picture.
Yeah.
I need for everyone listening to understand what goes into that process, because listen, I think there's a lot of things at play here. When we are so busy and we're really in the thick of it, how are you breaking that down? Is it that you're finding help? Is it that you're just like, you're
So-
on overdrive? Is it that you're just in the thick of it? Like what?
Certainly on overdrive.
Yes.
Probably on overdrive, then finding help. Like,
Right.
so that's the picture that I'm trying to paint, which is in that first 3 years, we had 3 kids, launched a show, a business, and we're doing so much just the 2 of us. We had a few
Right.
other people at that point, and like I said, he was launching another business, a TV film production company, sort of slowly. And it was a lot. Like, I looked up at some point and was like, this is I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
I think you have a demeanor though that is always very you tend positive. So you don't trend negative. You trend positive all the time. Which I think is interesting. And I'll just back it up because I know a little bit of the story and you have literally like glazed over and fast
I
forward
know,
this
but
whole
that's
thing.
because that's how it felt.
Yes, that's how it felt. It felt like boom.
Yes.
And like so
Yes.
let's just back it up. I remember the moment that you were like, yeah, Lizzy, I was trying for one.
Yeah.
I was trying for one. We just wanted one more. We had
He
Brooks.
wanted
we
one more.
wanted one more. It's fine. He, but it's we. You we. You we.
Yes.
You ain't no he or she no more.
Yes.
You we. We wanted one more, and boom, twins. I
Mhm.
said, Codie, did you guys like do like fertility treatments? Did you guys no? Did twins run in the family? No. Codie, how y'all just like wake up with twins? I don't know. Lizzy, I don't know. And it went from literally 1 hoping to 2, 1 to 3.
It was because you had 3. You know,
No,
I just
no,
wanted to
don't
be.
jinx
I
me.
just wanted to be where
Don't
you
do
were.
that. Don't put that on me.
I always wanted a lot of
It
kids.
was 1 to 3, and I think that was a lot too.
Yes. Oh,
that
girl.
moment
That part.
changed a lot as well because now you literally tripled or doubled. Well, what is that? 1.5? I don't know. I don't know the
What
math
would that
on that.
It's more than double. Put it that way.
It's more than double,
Yeah.
but it would be triple,
No, it wouldn't.
wouldn't it?
We 1.5 did.
1 point. Well, but 1 times.
Oh wait,
Yeah, 1 times
girl,
3
stop.
is 3.
Math
So maybe
is not
triple.
our thing.
You would have tripled. Basically, you would have
You're right. Tripled the number of children.
tripled the no.
1 to 3. 1, 2, 3. Anyway.
Yeah, I got you. But anyway, that, almost overnight
Yes. Yeah. Literally.
while you're also building the business. What is the conversations between you and Tommy? How is the relationship thriving, or what are some of the pitfalls that you're going through where you have to work through, and how are you working through those moments? Because there's a lot of those. I can only
A lot.
imagine.
Sure.
People in marriage, they always say, right, statistically, that it's either you're fighting over money, you're fighting over like time, you're fighting over kids, right? These are the things of marriage that are like your biggest pitfalls. You guys have literally tripled, let's just say, your kids. You guys are literally starting a business. So money has to be like on the forefront of everything. And relationship and time. You don't have a lot of that. So tell me, there has to be conversations. How are you getting
I'm
through those?
happy to try to answer your question your way, but I want to say that essentially I looked up very much post twins. I mean, like probably a year into them. So 2019, we've been married since 2015. I kind of looked up and was like, we've done none of that. We haven't talked through these things. We just like experienced them. It was like surviving, not thriving.
Yes.
So, if I'm being honest, it was literally like I looked up and I was like, we have not had a marriage long enough to just be married. We haven't been parents of 1 for very long before we became parents of 3. We had like everything was fast, too fast.
Yeah.
So going back, I mean, with the twins, I always wanted twins and I always wanted 3+ children.
Yeah.
So good luck to him finding peace with that. No, but he
You were
literally said the only way we're having 3 kids is if you have twins. He literally said that. And so then I did.
Look at that. It just got it work. Got it work.
I literally, when we found out, I literally giggled and cried for like 2 weeks, all joy.
Yeah.
And he was really happy too.
Yeah,
So
of
that was a
course.
thing that we were both happy and excited for. But we never stopped to be like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
This is going to be hard. Well, no, we really didn't. We just kept going. I was so happy. So all of those things, though, definitely caught up with us and are still, I would say, probably the bulk of our work now. Because for me, we have very different personalities. We lead people differently. Back then, we probably had 4 or 5 people on the team, which has grown to up to 40 at any given point. And I say 40, like last year we were probably at like 40, and this year has been tough on everybody. So we have like just under 20 altogether, 2 businesses.
Right.
So we have had to have a lot of conversations about setting boundaries. I would say it was probably the earliest come to Jesus was like, we work together, but we never very clearly said, I'm doing this, you're doing this. And when I need your help, I'll call you.
Interesting. Okay.
And
so you both have very clear roles
now
within
we
the
do.
business.
Now we do. Yeah. But that took, to be honest, like too long. You know, I had read something early on when we were like dating, maybe engaged that first year. We were working together. I had read like, okay, for couples working together, you need to have really clear roles so that you're not like overstepping your partner. And we just didn't do it.
Right.
We just didn't say, okay, this is it. And so fast forward to realizing that we were, you know, stepping on each other and emotions were high as a result, primarily mine. Okay. He's very much like marriage, and business. I'm like, no, if you piss me off from 9 to 5, I'm mad at 7.
Right. Exactly.
And so we had to have that conversation, and for sure, like 2019 probably.
And when you have that conversation, when you say that, is that something that you guys just like say to yourselves, like, hey, we need to talk? Or is that an argument that blows up to something you're like, yo, either we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's
no,
like,
for sure. It was like multiple arguments until we realized that this is where we needed to draw lines, or that's what was needed, was like starting to draw really clear lines.
And do you bring work home?
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
is it like, are you guys also talking about work after work hours?
Yes.
That's the hard part I have.
It is very hard. And I would say that part of it is the result of the state of the industry right now. So like I'm trying to think about then and now.
Of course, yeah.
I would say then, yes, because our work, especially the Black Love side, he runs a traditional TV film production company. That doesn't mean he doesn't love it and isn't passionate about it, but Black Love is very much like in my soul. And so I am constantly like talking to individuals and couples and families and learning and having questions and so it comes home for sure, because it brings about a lot of thoughts and just discussion points. And so for sure I would absolutely bring it home a lot in those, I can't even say early days, I'll say middle days, because it was after season 1, season 2 of the show.
Yeah.
And even, you know, with Moms with Coffee, for example, not that show was a contention, like a point of contention for us, but we're talking about motherhood.
Right.
I'm in that stage. I was pregnant with twins when we filmed that show. I am thinking about everyone's experiences and stories. And so what I do every day, which is try to like ask the questions that I have, or find ways to create conversation around humanity and the ways in which we live. And I'm learning and I'm bringing that home.
Right.
It's just, to me, I don't think of that as a bad thing. I think it's more challenging to create those lines.
Is Tommy better with that?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I would say as business has grown, right? So as we've gone from a TV show to a website, blacklove.com, to live events, to podcasts, and at one point a podcast network, an app, which we no longer have, but now we have a freebie, like a fast channel on freebie. Like as we've had more tentacles,
yes,
it's become harder to get everything done 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's not really 9 to 5, right? And so instead of trying to keep it from coming home, we try to create better boundaries. Like as in we try to create intentional time away from work.
So what are your non-negotiables in the house between you and Tommy? Non-negotiable. Just also a really quick note. If you're loving this content, our podcast with all of our amazing guests, we love sharing their stories. It really is such a joy for us. Then you're going to love thecoolmom.co. Make sure to head over there. It is everything that you can think of lifestyle. So we have fashion, food, we have amazing interviews with a lot of other cool moms as well. So check out all of our Cool Mom Co features, shop our merch, do all the things. Check out thecoolmom.co. So what are your non-negotiables in the house between you and Tommy? Non-negotiable.
Date nights.
Okay. Once a week, what?
Once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm saying that hesitant. If he's listening or watching, he's going to be like, not for you. But I try very hard.
Okay. Okay.
Date nights once every 2 weeks. And prioritizing our kids and our family time. On the weekends, we don't do a lot. We kind of just sit around with them. So I would say prioritizing just time together as a family, especially on the weekends, because that's the one time where he's completely off, whereas I spend a little bit more time at home during the week. And so those would probably be our main two. He would also like to add a vacation once a quarter.
Okay. Non-negotiables.
He would like that. Yes.
Okay. There you go.
It doesn't currently exist. Look,
what about dinner
I'm
time? What does
perfectly
dinner
imperfect.
time look like?
Girl, we can't all be Lizzy Mathis. So essentially we have a nanny, right? Our day is I get up and do morning. I get people up, I make them breakfast, and I take typically
By people up, she means her kids.
I do mean my 3 children. I typically take Aristotle and Langston, the twins, to school, and Tommy takes Brooks to school. And then we alternate one day a week.
Okay.
Pretty soon that will change because they'll all go to the same school. So we're going to figure out ways to alternate where we're still spending morning time with them.
Yeah.
But I do all the morning stuff, and then they go to school, and then we have a nanny who picks them up from school, does any after school activities, dinner and bedtime.
Okay.
And we get home for bedtime if we can, but often we don't.
Right.
And so that's really our day. We are not having formal dinner together. That is something I would love to change, but
does that bring about any
Entrepreneurship.
feelings for you?
Which part?
For you, when you get home, they're already in bed. The day is already over for them, and you're really spending really time with them on the weekends and in the mornings.
And in the morning.
Does that give you any?
Sometimes, if I
Any
focus on
feelings?
it, for sure. I'm like, because sometimes they'll say something in the morning. Like if I'm taking them to school and I don't know, they want to remind me something, and they're like, well, we're not going to see you till tomorrow. And it's like 8 a.m. To be clear, like I do come home sometimes to put Brooks to bed. He goes to bed later. And sometimes I'll also find a way to pop in, after school, but before dinner or bedtime. Not nearly as much as I'd like to. And there was a time I was picking them up from school too. LA traffic will have you not doing that.
For about 3 hours. You'll be locked up.
I say all that to say it's certainly imperfect, and there are things that I would love to change, but the demands of entrepreneurship make it really hard.
What's your philosophy? What's your philosophy on being a working mother? What is it that you have to remind yourself of the why? Because there's a lot of things you sacrifice. And I say that with all respect, because I say that as a working mother myself. I say that as literally you are one of probably about now, like, tens of whatevers to sit in this seat. I was trying to think of how many guests I've had. Tens of whatever to sit in this seat and say pretty much the same thing. Their careers are very important to them. Entrepreneurship. Obviously, most of the women who I interview happen to be entrepreneurs, and having families. Like this is something that we as women of this day and age and this time are figuring out. I hate to say balance, so that's why I say are figuring out, depending upon who we are individually. But there is a why. There's a why. So what is your why? What is it that you are reminding yourself when you have to make these sacrifices?
You know what? It honestly changes in a given year or a given quarter. We as a collective community have been through a lot. Right. And I'm going to say the last 7 years. And I say that because that's when this all started for me. Right. And I count because my oldest is 7. I'm really 8 from when I was pregnant. But, for me, between having a show that was and is my baby, my first baby, right? To building a platform from said show to employing people who depend on me to do my job and to make sure they have jobs and can take care of their families, to taking care of my family, right? Which frankly Tommy probably bears that burden even more so than I do, but being able to contribute and take care of our family, and then also to fuel my own ambition.
Yeah.
All of those things are my why, but sometimes the demands of 2024 are different than 22, than 20 when we were all at home. You know, and so it just changes during a given period.
Yeah.
I would say right now, it is a lot of those latter things, trying to make sure that I continue to do something that I am passionate about, which I know helps my children. It makes me a happier person to be successful, and success is a very relative word, but it makes me a happier person to be able to thrive in a place where I am passionate. And they see that and they feel that. They get the better mommy as a result of, you know, I can be more present when I am around. It helps us take care of them from a roof over their head to the food that they eat to the school that they go to. And it also helps me. It's also a required part of me taking care of these people who've committed themselves to our company.
Right.
Companies. And so that's my why right now. But that doesn't mean I don't want to find ways to make adjustments. You know, the entrepreneurship is I don't want to say supposed to be, but part of the allure is creating your own schedule and having freedom and free time. Depending on the season that you're in, that's easier than others.
No one tells you, I think, when you feel this idea. I've never worked for anyone. The last job I had that I worked for someone, it was the bagel factory when I was 14. And since then, I've always found my own way of making money from that moment forward. Which is very difficult. And I think that people it's funny because I was talking to my brother yesterday and he was like, yeah, I don't know if I could get down with that. I was like, are you joking? This is how I've always lived. I've always lived where if I don't find it, it doesn't come in.
Right.
So it is this idea of like entrepreneurship where you feel like, yes, you can set your own schedule, but no one tells you how hard it can be. No one tells you that when it all falls on you. So yes, the sacrifices that are made, I ask you that question because I think it's something that resonates within a lot of us, right? It's like the sacrifices are made and we miss out on certain moments, but it's because we feel like not only is it helping us be the best of us, not only are we showing our kids that it's possible, you know, it's just like a total picture. So that's why I asked that question.
But it also requires me to research, for lack of a better word, like what impact is all of this having on my kids, right? So I don't put them to bed every night. I still put them to bed on the weekends, and I still do it on some weeknights, right? One big thing I will say that I romanticized before kids was bedtime. The sweet moments of reading and snuggling until they fall asleep.
Yes.
Only to be met with, you know, what we all now know is constant requests for water and questions, and I've got to go to the bathroom, and they just don't want to go to sleep, and it's a thing.
My kids talk more than any other point of the day at night. They talk to me more at night than any other point of the day. I'm like, what? Now you want to become motor mouth?
Yes.
Now? Yeah.
So I realized that that's one thing that, as much as I would love to be the last person that they see before they close their eyes, I realize it's not that important.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned, I've read, I've heard a million times that like children need our focused attention for like 10 to 20 minutes. Does not mean give your children only 20 minutes of attention a day, but our focused attention, phones down, do what they want to do for 10 to 20 minutes to feel seen, to feel appreciated and loved. And so I can be around.
Is that across all age spectrums?
That's a good question.
Or?
I actually don't know, but I would say because this is something that was told to me by an early educator.
Okay, so maybe younger. Okay.
Yeah, so I know we were talking specifically.
I was like, dang, I hope my 12-year-old, I hope that's what that is.
Maybe she needs a little
20
more.
minutes. Nima, I got you, boo. 20 minutes.
You know, but of what she wants to do. Like that's the key, right? Just saying, hey, come, I don't know, do something with me that I want. It's not the same thing as
you engaging in an activity that she wants or deems important.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the demands of my schedule have required me to do my best to figure out how I can be really impactful in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were talking about missing certain moments. I really don't miss a lot of major moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I am the one who takes them to birthday parties of their classmates. It's
Right.
really important to me that they have flourishing lives, that they're not the kid in school
You're
that
great at
doesn't
that.
make it
Yeah.
because
No, you're great
their
at
parents couldn't take them. So I'm either taking them or I'm making arrangements for them to go to
that.
somebody's
You also have,
thing.
yeah, you also have people at your home. You also host things. You provide community around them a lot.
you.
You're
I
really
try.
great at that.
I
But
try.
that's what you've always done. That is what you've created. You've created community around the things that you care about the most.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, naturally, you would do that for your kids. And speaking of community, you see that segment right there? You
I
see
see.
that
I
twist
see.
in? You see
Yes.
that?
I almost teared up a little bit.
Speaking of, no, this is a good one. Speaking of community, the Mama's Den podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The Mama's Den podcast. We've had Ashley on. She is 1/4 of this.
Yes, there's a lot
this
of us.
quadruplet. See, I got
Girl
that
gang,
right. Yeah,
whatever.
girl gang. You also are a part of it,
Yeah.
and then of course you guys have Felicia and you have Melanie. And I think that it is such a great dynamic between all four of you.
Thank
The
you.
Mama's Den is a great space where moms can go and listen to 4 different perspectives on topics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really fun space. So how did that come about?
Well, like I said, whenever I have a question, I'm going to go find answers. And I know typically that like I'm not alone
Yeah.
in my need to just constantly ask questions. And so that's how Black Love started.
Mhm.
With the Mama's Den, it was during the pandemic. And I don't know what my questions were, but it was just like, how do we raise these kids?
Yeah.
What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Everything.
Mind you, Codie is also the one who finds friends by DMing them,
I do. I do have internet
which is
friends.
so wild to me.
Yeah,
That
I
seems
do.
so new age to me.
You really don't? In 2024, you don't have any friends that you're like, oh, I know you from the internet. We
Like
DM.
I DM'd them and now we're
Yes.
friends? Absolutely not.
Oh man.
No, unless
My
we've met
newest-
face to face.
My newest friend is Dr. Raquel Martin.
Okay.
She is on Instagram. You probably follow her. She's wonderful. We be DMing. We're gonna
Okay.
meet soon.
Okay.
Shout out to her.
You manifest your friendships.
I do.
through
I mean, look,
DMs.
I literally, yes, I do. When I'm curious about people, I engage in them and I ask questions.
No.
I guess that's the through line.
I mean, listen, I do too, but I have to meet you face to face. That's interesting. I do too. I engage with people. I'm curious with people.
Yeah.
And I love asking questions, but I can't do that through DM. There's no way that I'm cold
That's how
DMing
it
you.
starts.
No way.
That's how I met Nina Westbrook.
I'm no.
Literally in the DMs. We
Nope.
both have a 2-year older kid than our twins, and we both had twins the same month,
Yeah. So no,
and then we became friends.
not it. I don't know what that is.
Well, anywho,
That's so, you know what,
I do
though?
that.
I respect that about you because I think it is the new generation. I think it is the new way. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We are the same age.
You're
but
of the
I'll
new
take it.
generation.
I'll take it. That brings me.
You're
hold
doing
on.
what the cool kids are doing.
Total pivot. Are you a FaceTimer? Like, do you prefer to FaceTime your friends or talk on the phone?
Neither.
Say what now?
Yeah,
you
neither.
text? You're like,
Neither.
oh,
None
this
of-
is why she doesn't
none of the
respond to my
above.
texts.
None of the above.
I get
If
it now.
I
get
don't
it.
like to be on any device having a conversation.
I'm gonna show up at your house.
I hate it. It
Would
is
you like
my
that?
nemesis. People who like I really mess with, like they would consider themselves like my closest people.
Mhm.
And if they FaceTime me, I'm like, yo, why you what is this? You have something to show me?
I love
like,
that.
What is that?
Listen, I agree with you.
I can't do it.
We had this conversation actually on the Mama's Den with Elaine Welteroth, who Elaine and Melanie became friends over like FaceTiming each other after meeting.
No.
And I'm like, that's weird.
Nope.
And I was in the minority.
Nope.
So I'm just glad.
No. No.
I love you. You can FaceTime
Nope.
me because I
Nope.
love you, but I'm
Nope.
just saying it's not
you
necessary.
gotta give me a heads up too.
not necessary.
Like I could be in like the middle of something. You can't just FaceTime me and expect for me to pick up.
I agree.
No.
I'm going to think something's wrong.
I'm gonna think. Not only am I gonna think something's wrong, I'm gonna think why. Why? Why are you doing that? That's one. Texting, yes. Even when you sent me a voice note, I was like, What does she have to say that she didn't feel the need that she could just text?
But you sent one back.
And I did. I was like, I'm engaging.
Was that the beginning of
The
you
new
voice
age.
noting?
No, I've voice
love a
noted
voice
before.
note.
It's not really my favorite because at first the voice notes will automatically send. Now they give you a pause where you can listen
Yes.
back
Oh,
first.
those were
But when it
horrible
automatically
days.
sent,
When they
I'd
would-
be like, well, I didn't even, hold on, I didn't even edit this. Hold on, I was just talking free balling for a
Agree.
second. And then you just sent it. That is not cool.
I
So
agree.
no, I have
agree.
a whole thing. And then, I just don't really like talking to people in my free time like that. I'm not big on that.
Okay, I'm going to show up at
Even
your house.
I'm the
Don't worry
biggest
about
people
it.
person.
I think it'll be fine.
It's a weird dichotomy between myself. I'm working on it. This is my inner work that I'm feeling out. But I love talking to people. I love engaging people. I'm very curious. However,
Yes.
when I'm at home, maybe I'm a little bit more like Tommy. When I'm at home, I lock out.
He
I
does
like up.
not want to
I'm
talk to
like,
anyone
I don't want
at
to talk to
all.
anybody. Even when Issa hands me the phone, I'm like, why? I like roll my eyes at him. I'm like, why are you handing me the phone? You decided to call that person. Issa will call my best friends and then hand
That's
me the phone.
crazy.
And I'll be
Not
like,
him,
no.
you.
Issa
Just to be clear.
will call
Yeah.
my best friends.
No, I hear you.
On the phone.
Sounds normal.
They will be having a conversation and then he'll be like, hey, Lizzy, here's Nicole, my very best friend from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Nicole. And I'll be like, why? You called her. Why? I'll call her on my own time.
I'm sorry, Nicole.
Yes, no, she knows this. I love her
I
very
know,
much.
I'm sure
but
she
I'll be like,
does.
why? No, I'm not in the mood right now to get into whatever conversation we're about to get
That's
into.
wild,
I
Lizzy.
have I'm in my
That's
own little thing.
wild.
You're not the same.
No.
Oh, okay.
I like talking to people. All of that said, how did the Mamas Den come together?
Pivot back.
So because I remember. So during the pandemic, or it was 2020, I just was like, y'all, I love them. I admire them individually. Ashley and I were very close already.
Mhm.
Felicia, I had met through Moms with Coffee.
Okay.
Felicia also is a single mom of 2, and Melanie has at that point 1 son.
Mhm.
And I just like the way they all communicated about motherhood and their journey and the things that they learned. And y'all, and Ashley's crazy.
Yeah, Ashley,
Said with love.
Ashley is very, Ashley is very open
She is.
and honest,
Yeah.
and she'll give it to you raw. That's what it is, raw. She doesn't. That's why me and Ashley get along, because I'm like, catch me on the right day. You might get a little Detroit. You might get
Yep.
a little sugar. You might get a little this.
Mm-hmm.
You might get like a little bit more prim and proper, Lizzy. I don't know. It kind of depends. Ashley, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
No matter where we are, nope. Ashley's just giving it to you raw every time.
Fully raw.
Fully raw.
As they say, no
Yes.
lube. Anyway.
Yes.
So I was like, you guys should talk about motherhood on a podcast. And that would be great. And they were like, but you have to be on it.
Ah.
And I was like, I guess. It's funny. I was listening to our not first episode, but this trailer that we made in 2021. And I even said in that, I'm just here for the color commentary. I
Yeah.
said that. And here we are 100 years later.
Wow.
And the 4 of us are podcasting together. And we talk about our motherhood journey. We talk about our friendships, right? The friendships we've lost, the friendships we've gained, how our lives have changed becoming moms. We talk about everything. And it's not always about motherhood specifically, but through that lens, because
Right.
our lives, our time,
Mhm.
our resources, everything is different because we
Right.
have all these children. And I think what I find most interesting is that after what I realized recently is 3 years of recording. I mean, in the beginning, we were literally taking the PCR tests just to be together.
Yeah, so true.
After 3 years of recording, we like each other even more.
Right.
Like,
Well, you've created true bond and friendship. I mean, you really have. I think that, getting on and finding that sisterhood is what you kind of feel when you listen to it too. And I think what's most beautiful about it is that you are really sharing the stories of Black women as mothers told in very different ways. And I think it is a colorful picture to share because sometimes, a lot of times, most times, we get put in boxes, especially as Black women, women of minorities, whatever it is, right? We get put in our own boxes and we get, this is what we're supposed to be, or this is what we are, or this is what you think we are, and blah, blah.
Yeah.
And really, it's a really great opportunity, I think, for people to listen in, and people like me who am a Black mother, to feel camaraderie, relatability, but then even people who are not Black mothers or Black women to also listen in and be able to hear different perspectives on what that totality of a woman can look like.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why It's great. So
I
kudos to
appreciate
you.
that.
I'm still
very
waiting
grateful.
for, now that Codie's in the house, here we go.
Here we
You
go.
heard this one
Here we
coming.
go.
You heard this one coming. I'm still waiting. You thought I was going to say something else. I'm still waiting on the other two to come on.
okay. Yeah,
Nope,
I thought she was
am
going to say
gonna
something
that.
else.
No, I
You're
am going to
definitely
say
going to
that.
be on the show.
I'm still waiting for my invitation.
We are on a recording hiatus in this moment in time.
This is what we.
But
you
when we
hear all
start
this?
recording again,
You hear all this? You know,
you're coming to
I'm
the
going to say
den.
no. I'm going to
Damn.
say no.
It's like that.
Because I don't want the pity.
It's
I
not
feel like
pity.
this is pity at this point.
Not at
to
all.
come on to the
Not-
Mama's
We
Den
only just started
podcast.
doing guests this year.
Whatever.
And we've had like
I wasn't
5.
on the short list.
Like 5.
I wasn't on the short. You know what though, Codie?
But I can't wait for Felicia and Melanie to be on the Cool Mom Code podcast. Can't wait.
Same.
It's going to be great.
Same. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Any conversation with you is a good conversation.
That was so easy.
I'm thankful. It's always is. Look,
Oh.
the Cool Mom Code podcast is easy breezy, baby. We come in, we come
Love
out,
it.
we give you
I
what you
love
want.
it. Wait, we give the key card to the coolest spot in town? Is
It
that what
is
we...
the key. Now you have the key card to the coolest spot in town.
Yes.
Thank you, Codie.
Thank you for having me.
Love you.
Love you.